We talk a lot about service to God, but let me ask you a question. What service does God need from you? It's kind of a trick question because the reality is it tells us in Psalm 50 that God doesn't need anything from us. He owns the cattle, He owns all the stuff. He doesn't even need sacrifices from us. But what does God want from us? I would venture that God wants our hearts. God wants our love, our undivided love. And we actually see this reflected in Genesis when God makes covenant with Abraham. We see the echoes of the covenant reaffirmed in a couple different spots. It starts in Genesis chapter 12, then we see it in Genesis 15, and then again in Genesis 17. In Genesis 15 is this covenantal ceremony, and normally in ancient cultures, people would cut animals in halves and then would walk up and down between the pieces together, vowing that if they broke covenant, that they should be like the pieces of these animals. But in the story recorded in Genesis 15, Abraham's in a deep sleep. It is God who does the walking, God who does the covenant making. It tells us that God made covenant with Abram. In Genesis 17, we see the requirement. It says to walk before me and be blameless, which I touched on in a video last week. Blameless doesn't mean perfect. One of the roots of it is unimpaired. When we are unimpaired in our love for God, that means we don't let anything else get in the place of our love. Nothing else takes our love aside or moves it remotely. We are fully and wholly devoted to God. So the covenant that God makes with Abraham is made on the basis of who God is. It's entirely based on his character, which is a character of love, faithfulness, mercy. I could go down the list, but topping that list is a character of love. God wants us to be in relationship with him. He doesn't want us to be in relationship to serve him and do all these things for him the way people serve false gods. God wants our hearts. And when our hearts are in the right place before him, everything else will fall into place in terms of how we respond to God. Something to contemplate today. Blessings on you.